Welcome to the That's Life podcast, where we discuss the ups and downs of life and everything in between. Here's your host, Shane Makita.
Wow, that intro sounded pretty cool, didn't it? It had a little bit of that whole Stranger Things vibe, 80s kind of vibe to it, but I did that on purpose, and there's a reason, and I'll explain that to you. But welcome back, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of my podcast. Now, you guys know that has been called a few things in the past. One of the things it was called was Coffee Talk with Liquidshano 1973, which all started off with basically me blogging and putting thoughts on paper and then recording my audio thoughts to be able to just kind of put things out there as I was trying to lose weight, as I was trying to be a good dad, all those things, right? And you guys are all followed along with me. You long-termers, the people that have been around for a long period of time, you guys have seen the iterations, you've seen the growth and everything. Then after it was Coffee Talk with Liquidshano 1973, the change happened where it became Coffee Talk with Liquidshano. Now, I know the only reason I removed that is because it was easier for me to be able to describe it to somebody if they ask questions about what's the podcast or what's the name of it or anything like that. So it just kept it pretty simple, and it matched some of my other social media platforms. So that was kind of the thought process, but the content never changed or anything like that. But now, here we are, 2024. I'm refocused, I'm re-energized, and I needed to rebrand. Now, you might ask the question, why are you rebranding? I don't understand. What's the reason that you're refocusing things? I thought the old way worked for you. Well, here's my story. I first used this podcast to be able to lose weight. I used it to be able to connect with people to lose weight. I used it to be able to get my thoughts out there, the things that I was thinking about, life in general, people in general, and all those things. Giving back, being kind, everything. And that was where I was at. Now, that hasn't changed, but I've changed. Over the past 2 years, I have been through a lot. I've been through a ton. I went through some legal troubles with my kid. I've gained weight. I lost people in my life. I lost my dog. All kinds of different things had gone on. So for me, there was a lot of tumultuous stuff happening in my life that I needed to get right before I could be right when I hop on the podcast. Now, there's value to the fact that if you do hop on a podcast and you're talking about self-help or mental health or anything like that, to talk about the bad times and the good times, and I get all that, right? But if you're not in the right mind space, you're not in the right head space to be able to add value or be able to bring things to the table that actually encourage people, lift people up, learn from each other, and all those things, then what are you doing it for? I felt like I was almost like imposter syndrome, almost like a fraud or a sham, coming onto the podcast, talking about different stuff, being able to say, let's all do it together, guys, and all that stuff, which is great, right? We need community. We need people. We need to be able to uplift each other. We need to be able to encourage each other. But at the end of the day, if you're not feeling it and you're just not in the right headspace, sometimes it's good to just take a break, which I've done. Anybody that's been listening to the podcast for a while knows that the amount of episodes have dwindled down a little bit, which I felt bad for as well, because I have patrons that donate to the show. I got people that were asking questions, people sending emails. I got newsletters. I got all the other stuff that I was working on. But here I am now. Now, when somebody asks me, why would you rebrand? Because I've just had a lot of crap going on in my life for so long that it's time to focus on me. It's time to focus on my objectives and the things that I want to accomplish. I love podcasting. I love talking to people. I love connecting. I love being in people's ears to be able to have a conversation, to say, hey, listen, you got this. I've got this. I love all that. So it's a passion of mine, but I haven't been able to do it. I haven't been able to fully immerse myself into it and do everything that I have to do to be able to continue to move this forward. And I felt bad. I felt guilty. I felt not worthy of everybody else's encouragement or lifting up or conversations or texts or emails and all that stuff. I felt guilty because I had everybody else's attention. Everybody else wanted what I was able to give or what I was trying to give, and I just felt like a fraud. Not anymore. It's my time, right? After the new year, a lot of people make things like New Year's resolutions, promises, things that they want to be able to accomplish, all those things. Everybody makes them. We all do. One of mine was, I need to get back to me. Podcasting is part of that. Like, I literally, at the end of the day, feel like this is part of my therapy. This is part of my purpose, to help others, but also help guide me along the way. And who knows what it can lead to, what kind of opportunities it may arise, all those things, sponsorships, anything, to be able to help grow this podcast and be able to elevate and be able to keep things moving forward. Now, when I say I'm investing in me and it's my time, this can come in many different forms. So one of the forms is through my health. It's not just about weight loss anymore. It's about everything. It's about your mindset. It's about your mental health. It's about getting help that you need. It's about losing weight. It's about exercising. It's about being healthy, living long-term, long life. I turned 50 this year, and I don't feel so good. I want to feel better. I want to feel like I can live a long, prosperous life and ride off into the sunset with my beautiful wife. That's what I want. So this is all part of it. This is part of the journey. This is part of where we're at. If I could fill you in on some of the stuff that I've been through in the past year and a half, I could probably write a book. To persevere and overcome adversity is one thing, but to be able to be smacked in the face 1,000 times and keep trying to get back up. I never gave up. I never stopped trying, but I just wasn't doing it to the best of my ability. I just wasn't delivering to what I expect myself to deliver. I wasn't doing what all of you that pop onto this podcast to listen to me ramble and rant and rave about things, and some often depend on things that I say. Not because my word is bond and I'm the almighty whatever, but more so because I'm a friend, I'm a coworker, I'm somebody that some consider to be like family. That when I speak to the things that I'm going through, many people can relate. So this is one of the reasons why we call it That's Life Podcast. Because that's life. Life happens. Ups, downs, overs, unders, stresses, relaxation, vacations, celebrations, happiness, sadness, anger, frustrations, all of it. It's all part of it. Now, it sucks that it goes through such a wide range of emotions and a wide range of things, but that's life. That's what we do. We're human beings. We're a lot tougher than what we give ourselves credit for. We can get through the crappy, awful times to be able to get to the other side of celebration or victory or success. So that's where I'm at. So when I had that question, I released the logo. If you guys haven't seen it, on the podcast itself and on the platforms, all the social medias, I created a logo. Now, the logo itself almost looks like a Pixar character, right? So I did a lot of work on it, and it's like a three-dimensional picture on there. But it's a new me. It's a new vision. It's a new focus. And I'm excited. I'm excited to kick this off. We can call this the first episode of That's Life Podcast, or we can call it episode 260, whatever it is, branching off and carrying over from where the Coffee Talk podcast was and is. But I'll be taking down some of the merchandise for the Coffee Talk aspect of it and putting up a lot of stuff for That's Life Podcast with Liquidshano. Now, for those that have not been here very long or just started here, welcome. Welcome to my podcast. This podcast is going to be probably a little different than what you normally would hear, where people are teaming up with somebody and they're always doing interviews or they're vibing with conversations, et cetera, which I'd love to do. But this podcast is basically me and a microphone and all of you who are in this room with me. As I'm talking into this microphone, I feel like I'm talking into hundreds of ears and people that are listening, that are vibing out and joining in and understanding and nodding their head and seeing that we sometimes need that focus. We sometimes need that redirection. Sometimes that's what we need. So that's where we're at. Hey guys, One of the things that I get from a lot of individuals that listen to the show, that watch the show, that follow me on social media is, how can I help the podcast? Well, here's one of the ways that you can. I have a Patreon page. Now, you may not be familiar with what a Patreon page is, but what you can do is you could sign up to become a patron of the show. You could donate monthly to the show. Now, after a few months of donating monthly to the show, there's different tiers to be able to donate to. But you'll get some tchotchkes back. You'll get some merchandise back. You'll get something for actually donating to the show. But in the meantime, it helps to alleviate some of the cost that comes into running a podcast or doing different stuff. So if you're looking to support, I'm going to place the link of the Patreon page right into the bio. And I'll also tell you what it is. It's www.patreon.com/that's_life. And this way, you can support the podcast, you can give back, we could do all kinds of different stuff, and we can grow together. So I appreciate all the support you've given me in the past and in the future and right now. So thank you so much, and back to the show. And so for those that are brand new, welcome aboard. I'm here because I'm going through life just like you. Whether you're in your teens, whether you're in your 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, or 70s, it doesn't matter. Life is the same. We all go through trials and tribulations. We all fight for the good fight. We all do the things that we have to do to be able to make sure that we're doing the right things. Now that matters. And so you're a part of this. So no matter what goes on with the podcast, we're going to be involving a lot of you moving forward in this podcast and doing everything that we have to do to be able to move things forward and be able to have conversations, be able to learn from each other and those kind of things. So I'll be opening things up, whether it's through the newsletter or through the social media aspect of it, of things that we might want to talk about. Maybe you've got something you want to share. Maybe there's a comment that you want to put out there and I want to cover it on the podcast. Or maybe there's a quote that really stood out to you that you want to send my way, and we could talk about it and discuss it and understand how it can translate and carry over into our normal everyday average lives, right? But as we're trying to be the best version that we can be, things that come our way that are literally inspirational, we got to celebrate that. We got to talk about that. We have to use that as tools. We have to use it as a framework for us to be able to move things forward and just be the best version of us. Easier said than done, but that's part of it. That's why it's called life. That's life. So you can see where I'm going with this. Now, for you long-termers, the people that have been around with this podcast for a long period of time, probably through all 265 episodes, all the interviews, all the celebrations, all the ups, all the downs, all of it, I just want to say thanks. From the bottom of my heart, you guys matter to me. You really do. I may have never met you in person. I may have never shaken your hand or given you a hug or a high five or anything like that, but I hope you feel my sincerity coming through the microphone. I hope you feel how I feel about you. Because if it weren't for you supporting me, lifting me up, encouraging me, some donating to the show, some giving back, some buying merchandise, some taking care of things, some sending letters, some sending cards, whatever it is, throughout the years of us together, where we've been through a pandemic together, we've been through tough times together. I appreciate you from the bottom of my heart. It takes a lot to be able to support somebody that you don't know. Think about that. I don't know 99% of the followers and the people that follow this podcast, that listen to it, that download it, and all those things. I don't know you in person, but I know you. I know you because it's life. I know you because the life that I'm going through is so similar as many of you that you have either been through or you will go through. But that's what we're here for. In a society where we live in right now, this society that we're growing up in and we're surrounded by at this moment, this difficult, nasty, aggressive place that we live. Oh, it's nasty, and oh, it's aggressive, and oh, it's opinionated, and oh, it's all over the place. And we may sprinkle some of that in on this podcast, a little different than the Coffee Talk podcast, but we'll see. I'll still be doing interviews. I'm still going to be bringing people on board that inspire me, that motivate me, and move me forward. I may even do it more often, because now I'm setting things up. I've got a system set up where people can actually sign up to become on the podcast. We can kind of discuss the things that we want to talk about, all those things. I've also got a Patreon page that I'm helping to support as we move forward. With all the titles changed over, the logos changed over to That's Life Podcast. So for you long-termers, the ones that have been around, my ride or dies, my tried and trues, I thank you. I really do. I don't think I would want to come back and refocus and refire and reinvigorate if it wasn't for you. I don't think I would want to continue to do my live radio show that's on TikTok, that I go on there and I play tunes and I jam out. We're building a community where I've got 40 or 50 people in the room and we're just jamming. And we're lifting each other up and we're encouraging each other. And if somebody's having a tough day, we lift them up and put them in a better place and get them to where they need to be. If you have not checked it out, you can find me on TikTok at Liquidshano. And every Tuesday night from 8 p.m. to 10 p.m. Eastern, I go live and I play music. We take requests. We have themes. We take fundraising donations. We do all kinds of stuff. I would not be coming back in this capacity, with this much energy and this much fire, to be able to get back to who I know I need to be and the place that I need to go, if it wasn't for each and every single one of you. And for future listeners, if you're listening to this for the first time, like I said, welcome aboard. And we're going to have some fun. We're going to enjoy each other. We're going to be able to make it a little more interactive than what it was before. Not just me and a microphone, but me and a microphone involved with all of you. Because there's so many stories and there are so many dynamic individuals and so many amazing personalities and so many amazing opinions that are out there of people that have been through a lot in their lives or people that have been through a little in their lives. It doesn't even matter. The people that have been through a little in their lives probably know a whole lot about stuff that's going on these days that you'll never even know. So whether you're talking political landscape, you're talking about health landscape, you're talking about life in general, whatever happens, whatever goes on, whatever we're faced with in front of us, outside of getting angry and spitting vitriol and anger at each other, let's discuss it. Let's talk about it. Let's have fun with it. Let's do what we have to do. Let's learn from each other. I know I've said in prior podcast episodes before, and as I've guested on other podcasts before, I always say to myself, I don't go into a conversation to try to argue with you. I don't go into a conversation to try to say, I'm right, you're wrong. I go into a conversation because I want to seek to understand. I want to understand you. I want to learn from you. Even if I think at the end of the day, I know it all, and I think I'm right and you're wrong, doesn't matter. That's not how we enter conversations. That's not how we should enter conversations. We're often so faced with people that are just so opinionated and so strong-willed or just want to smack each other around and beat each other down, no matter what side of the aisle you sit on or no matter what part of the world you're sitting in, and you don't listen. Nobody's listening to each other. So this podcast, I'm hoping we can get it to a place where we can support each other, we can love on each other, no matter what our views are, no matter how we stand on things, no matter what we believe or anything like that. We're all human beings. We're all living this rat race called life. So why not love and support each other? Why not be kind to each other? Why not encourage each other? Listen, my buddy, Jonathan Mudhustler, used to always say, there's plenty of room at the top. Everybody's always trying to get to where they got to get to. Everybody's always trying to be able to fight for what they got to fight for. And they're always jealous of the other individuals. They're always looking over their shoulders. They're always like, oh, I'm comparison. I'm looking at you. I can't be like them. It doesn't matter. There's plenty of room at the top. Let's go. Let's go together. Let's all join each other at the top. That way we're a united front and we're not fractured and split and severed down the middle. So if you have people that you're thinking of as you're listening to this podcast that you want to hear me interview, that's the other thing. Make requests. Let's talk about it. Let's discuss why you want to have them on the podcast. And let's also discuss what you want to see from that podcast. What kind of questions you want me to ask. what kind of things we want to dive into. These podcasts and these interviews are supposed to be there to help us to be able to grow and be better, be inspired, to be able to look at another individual and say, man, they've accomplished so much. They've overcome so much. If they can do it, I know I can. If they can accomplish something after all of the crap and the turmoil and all of the stuff that they've been through, I know I can. And that's the purpose. I want all of you to be able to walk away from the podcast, each episode that comes out, and I want you to think to yourself, I'm inspired, I'm motivated, and man, you know what? It feels really good to know that somebody else has been through the same stuff that I've been through, and I know we can do it together. It's kind of a big deal. Supporting each other, loving each other, encouraging each other, and moving it forward. So I hope that you're as excited as I am. This is just an introductory episode that I'm doing here to be able to just kick it off, right? I want to kick it off. I want to be able to talk about things in life and everything in between, as the intro said. And I want to be able to move things forward and be able to have a place that we can come to, that we can learn, grow, and continue to at least move forward. Even if it's at a snail's pace, we move forward and we keep going. We don't give up. Never give up. We can do this, no matter what it is you're trying to accomplish. So thank you for listening, guys. I appreciate you very much. If you do want to sign up for that advertisement that I just put in there, the Patreon page, I am going to place it into the body of this podcast, along with, if anybody's interested in hopping on the podcast with me to do an interview or anything like that, let me know. I've got a calendar all set up and ready to go with specific times that we can actually record, and we can go from there. And I'm really looking forward to seeing how far we can take this. And I'm really looking forward to all the support that you guys give. And I'm just excited about everything, okay? Have a great day, everybody. Much love to you all, and we'll talk soon.
Thank you for listening to the That's Life podcast. Please leave us a 5-star rating and any feedback on whatever platform you're using.